Where
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We are glad that you can be a part of this conversation today. This is the Drew Liberia Cohort, a conversation around theological education. Theological education within the global context. And it's a great privilege to have with us the executive director of graduate admissions at the theological school in Madison, New Jersey, and also the executive director of the Casperson School of Graduate Studies at the same university, Reverend Dr. Kevin Miller. The conversation is going to center around the Drew Liberia cohort for those of you who are students, incoming students, and potential students for the future. The next semester is going to be the fall semester of 2025. Uh, Let me welcome our distinguished brother, Dr. Miller. Welcome to Drew. Welcome to Drew Liberia Cohort. And it's good to have you with us as we begin a very interesting conversation around some of the very fascinating programs that you have instituted in this cohort and your anticipation for the future. It's great that we can have you here and to be able to share with our students and potential students and scholars of the future. Welcome.
Grace and peace to you, and thank you, my brother, for the invitation to join with you today. It is always a blessing to be in conversation with you and certainly be in partnership with you. But I do want to take a moment of quick privilege just to thank God for you and for the great work that you and Refuge Ministries is doing, particularly with the projects that you have unveiled in Liberia. So I thank God for your ministry in Liberia. I thank God for your ministry here in the United States. And I'm very excited to be a part of this conversation today. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, it's really great. It's great that we can have you with us here today. We give thanks to God. It is truly a blessing. Without God, we could not be here. And I'm going to go back to that story as when we're about to close this conversation. Our interest is see how we can have Dr. Miller to visit Liberia. I would say next year or in a not too distant future. We want to leave that to destiny. But let's begin today, Dr. Miller. Students encountering our conversation. Drew Liberia Cohort, Drew University. In a nutshell, for the sake of time, share with us this journey, how we started, where we are now, and students who are coming in contact with this conversation. What do they expect, and what are the expectations that you have for them if they want to be a part of this theological enterprise?
Certainly. And again, thank you for an opportunity to share. For those who don't know, Drew University, and in particular, Drew Theological School, has been around for more than 150 years. It is an United Methodist institution. But even though it is United Methodist, we have people that are a part of our community here from all around the world. One of the interesting things about the theological school is our rich diversity. So you will find people here from the continent of Africa. Certainly, you find people that worship with us and join with our community online or also on campus. So it gives a rich opportunity for theological engagement. When you ask the question about the formation of the Liberia cohort, this was something that really originated by God's inspiration. As you know, you and I had a conversation about what could we do to help expand the mission of Drew and expand it in a way that we can impact potential pastors and current pastors that currently live in the country of Liberia. So in that conversation, we began to devise a way that would make this opportunity possible. One of the things through my lens of an admissions officer that we have found is that people are having more and more of a difficult time securing a visa in order to travel to the United States. So the Liberian cohort was really a unique initiative where instead of you trying to get to the United States, instead of you trying to get to Madison, New Jersey in the United States, which is where Drew is located, we wanted to try to bring the experience, the Drew Theological School experience, to our friends and colleagues in Liberia. So just this past fall 2024 was the first time we launched this particular cohort. And I'm so grateful and I give God thanks that we're able to bring in some students to be the inaugural class of the Drew Liberia cohort. It's an opportunity for students in Liberia to study in Liberia. And if you have internet access, strong internet access, you can take your courses online. But more specifically, and this is where, as you know, you and I have been able to be in partnership, people have been able to come to a location. They can come to a central location where internet service is provided, resources are provided, so that you can certainly not only be a part of the Liberian cohort, but still have the Drew experience. So again, this is something that we started in fall 2024, expanded it to spring 2025. This was the first academic cycle where we have seen students in this cohort. And now I'm excited to say that we want to continue this opportunity, continue this process, which is why we are having this conversation today.
Now, let's begin with the basic uh, disciplines in terms of specializations. I know we do have two that we are offering in terms of degrees, the Masters of Divinity, the Master of Arts in Theology and Ministry,
That's correct.
and there are others. Could you just care, for the sake of our conversation, to talk about those two and other opportunities that are available and the criteria, the requirements?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So, the Master of Divinity degree is the primary degree that you will find within the theological school for persons who are interested in going into ordained ministry or increasing their knowledge and capabilities in ordained ministry. Generally speaking, that is a 3-year program here at the school. And we also, as you correctly mentioned, we also offer what is called a Master of Arts in Theology and Ministry. That program is a 2-year degree. And usually those are for persons who may not necessarily be considering ordained ministry. However, they are looking to sharpen their skills, sharpen their focus in areas of ministry. So, for example, a director of Christian education might consider being a part of the Master of Arts in Theology and Ministry. But the central degree for people thinking about ministry, again, is the Master of Divinity degree, which is a 3-year degree. The requirements for that degree is that you must have an undergraduate degree. If you have an undergraduate degree, an undergraduate bachelor's degree, then you are eligible to begin that application process. With the undergraduate degree, you will also be required to submit a personal statement, 2 letters of recommendation, and certainly a transcript of your undergraduate degree. Once we receive this information, whether that is for the Master of Divinity degree or whether that's for the MATM degree, the Master of Theology and Ministry degree, either degree, once we have your personal statement, your letters of recommendation, and your transcript, the application at that point would be considered complete, and it then is sent to a committee for a review. And presuming that all goes well and everything is successful, then I am pleased to be able to send communication to you, welcoming you to be a part of the Drew Liberian cohort. And again, we're looking to receive applications even now. You have until June the 1st to submit your application to be a part of this wonderful opportunity.
And let's talk a little bit, as you have stressed, just basically the requirements that are there. And I know in detail there are specifications in terms of who gets what, who doesn't get this. Drew is a Methodist institution. Can you expand a little on that? The scholarships that are available, who gets it, who doesn't, or who gets it at some point, in terms of the percentages. Talk to us a little about that.
Thank you again for that question as well. We recognize that there is a cost for education. It doesn't matter where you go, there's going to be some type of a financial cost to pursue this educational opportunity. There are a few things I do want to say as it relates to how this works here at Drew. Because of the Liberian cohort and because certainly of your efforts in terms of identifying students, the theological school has set aside some financial resources to assist students with the cost of their education. One of the reasons, again, why we wanted to step into this space is because not only were students applying and having issues and difficulty securing their visas, but also the cost of coming to the United States has started to become, for many students, to be cost prohibitive. So what does that mean? That means that we have set aside some scholarship resources to assist students to become a part of the Liberian cohort. So many of the students, in fact, all of the Liberian students who apply to the theological school will be considered for some type of a merit scholarship. This partial scholarship, in many cases, will be much more than half of the cost of the degree, probably upwards to maybe three quarters, up to 75% of your tuition will be covered. So I say that to you just to encourage you on this journey. Certainly, if you are a United Methodist student and you apply and you get admitted, and if you have a GPA of over 3.2, great news for you. Not only will you receive a scholarship, but because you are a United Methodist student and you are attending a United Methodist institution, you automatically will have your tuition covered by the institution in full. So again, if you're a United Methodist student and apply and get admitted, you will have your full tuition covered by the theological school. If you are not a United Methodist student and you apply, you can expect that when your application gets reviewed and presuming that everything is successful, that you will be able to receive probably more than three quarters of your education covered by the theological school. So we hope by making this commitment, it demonstrates our mission, it demonstrates our commitment and our willingness to certainly be in partnership as we spread this good news of Jesus Christ. And we're trying again to be mindful of the cost that is involved for students who are considering theological education coming out of their home country. You will not have a richer experience, a more rewarding experience than what you will find here in the theological school at Drew University. You just will not. There are people from all around the world, many different denominations, many different traditions. So, in a world that seems to be getting smaller because of technology, you would be blessed and we would be blessed to have you be a part of this community.
Those of you who just joined us, we are having a conversation with Reverend Dr. Kevin D. Miller. Dr. Miller happens to be the executive director of the graduate school, the Casperson School of Graduate Studies, and also the executive director for theological admissions at Drew University, a Methodist university based in New Jersey, in the forest, as we call it. It brings together people from different aspects of life, different facets of the world. The global community is always emerging, coming together on the campus in Madison, New Jersey. And this is a great opportunity for many of you who have interest in theological education, many of you who have moral interests, and also believe in moral leadership in Liberia in particular. After years of civil war, after years of the failure of leadership, after years of the challenges we have encountered because of the human condition. The rebuilding process has begun, but we need trained leaders. We need qualified leaders. We need genuine and committed leaders who can take the mantle of leadership in Liberia, not only within government, but even within the church community, to be the moral voice of conscience, to speak to the conscience of the nation. This is the time, is the season we find ourselves, and we must make sure that the best and the brightest are given the opportunity to lead. And it's because of that vision, as Dr. Miller has explained, that this program has come into effect. This is why we are having this conversation today. Dr. Miller, can you share with us the website where students can go, incoming students or students who are students of the future, scholars who have interest in theological research, theological exploration, in as much as the Masters of Divinity has been offered, the Master of Arts in theology and ministry has been offered. I'm sure there are also other opportunities in areas of conflict resolution, in keeping with the Liberian experience. The website, share with us the website where people can go to find the basic information that is needed, and going through the processes of making sure an application is completed.
Certainly. You want to visit us on Drew's website, www.drew.edu, drew.edu/theological, and that will bring you right into the theological school. Also, let me also give you my email address, which is kmiller@drew.edu. So again, you want to go to drew.edu/theological school, or you can certainly email me directly at kmiller@drew.edu. And it'd be my blessing to be in conversation with you and in communication with you regarding this wonderful opportunity and experience that's called Drew University.
A number at the Office of Graduate Admissions. Could you care to share with our
Sure.
audience?
Absolutely. You can also reach us if you want to call us, 919-408-3111. Again, that telephone number is 1-973-408-3111. We'd be happy to receive your call as well.
The conversation just before we wrap up with Reverend Dr. Kevin D. Miller, who is our special guest today, as we are discussing the Drew Liberia Cohort. We are into the second activities of our engagement, I mean, the semester. That is practically winding down. The third semester begins in the fall, as Dr. Miller indicated. This is the time you can be able to do the application. Could you share a little about the application process, the time gap in between now and when that particular application must be completed, the basic requirements that are in the application that must be done. If one is not completed, the application cannot be processed. Talk a little about that, because a lot of times students see things sometimes from a narrow standpoint. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to leave this out. And I know for Drew, once letter A or section B is not completed, that application is not going to be processed.
You are absolutely correct. We want to make sure we get a complete application from each prospective student who wants to be considered for our program. To that end, again, you want to submit your personal statement. With your personal statement, we want to look and hear about your ministry journey. We want to hear what brings you to this space, what brings you to this conversation. We also, on your personal statement, want to hear a little bit about how you have operated in forms of leadership, whatever that may be. We want to understand how you have engaged in moments of conflict, One of the things when you think about the world in which we live in, and when you think about ministry in particular, there's always something that comes up. And how have you responded to some of these to a challenging moment in your life? So once we get your personal statement, we'll also look to receive your letters of recommendation, your two letters of recommendation. One, at least, should come from a religious leader, and a religious leader can be a bishop, it can be a district superintendent, it can be a pastor, it can be someone in your congregation who is the director or the overseer over a particular program, people who can speak to your call to ministry and be able to talk to us and share with us about your readiness for graduate theological education. Even Jesus raises the question, who do people say that I am? Well,
Amen.
let's share that with you because that's the question. That's what the
That's
recommendation
right.
is about.
Yeah.
What do people say about you? Who do people say you are? So once we have your personal statement, your letters of recommendation, we also need you to upload your transcript. And when we look at the transcripts, we are looking for a transcript that's going to be with a B average or a 3.0 average or better. Let me say two things very quickly because I understand. I just want to be as thorough as possible. The first thing is that when you write your personal statement, let your personal statement be in your own words. What we find sometimes is that people may try to use technology to help them write or actually write their personal statement. Drew is concerned with your authentic story. Let me say it again. Drew is concerned with your authentic story. As long as you present your authentic self, that is the best representation you can give if you're going to be considered for admission into the theological school. So I just want to encourage you certainly to do that, to make sure that you're using your authentic voice. And the second thing is don't shy away from the story. I've shared with you some of the requirements, some of the things that we look for. Don't shy away from your story. Just tell us your story and trust that your story, if God is in your story, then your story should really be good enough. One of the things that we celebrate here is that, again, I've talked about all these different people coming from different places, but your story is really what drives us. It really is what encourages us. So I just want to share with you that if there's something that you want to write in your personal statement, allow God to lead you in that writing and in that expression. And we trust that God will plant you exactly where you want to be.
And just to wrap up with Reverend Dr. Miller, I want to take us back to many, many, many years ago when I met Dr. Miller, 2007. I still remember. The rest of the journey is history. But I'm saying that to say publicly that he's a fine man, you are a genuine man, you are an advocate, and you work in a space that encourages diversity in the midst, or even the current tension that we find among ourselves in this land, in terms of the considerable disregard by national leadership
Mhm.
to see diversity as the problem. Diversity really is not the problem. And through theological lens, I may say and speak quite boldly that even those who believe in whatever theologically as defined as theological conservatives, there's no conservatism without solidarity and without justice,
Mhm.
without equality. And as we go through this next 4 years of challenges and difficulties on diversity, those of us who are called to be the full representatives of God,
Mhm.
we always have to stand for the poor, for the meek, and for the weak. That's the call of Jesus. Share with us a little because you've been to Liberia.
Mhm.
That has been quite a long time. Uh, by providence, we've come together. This journey has begun. And as we work to build a permanent campus, I want to leave that aspect of it in the next segment as we talk because of the sake of time. But you went to Liberia many, many years ago. Share with us a little. Where did that story come from? How did you get to Liberia and how you left? And after many, many, many years, Liberia is calling you again, this time in the area of empowerment, education, moral leadership, and making sure that those who hold the future are given an opportunity to rise up to the true meaning of the creed that encourages fair play, justice, equality, and within the context and the spirit of Umbuktu that speaks about the connectiveness of people. I can only be who I am if you are who you are. I'm never the person that I am, and I can never aspire to the greater heights of my humanity if you do not exist. And you cannot be given the possibility to strive and to make the world a better place.
You are taking me back to a special time on my own life's journey. Liberia was the first African country I ever had the opportunity to visit. Certainly, I was much younger at the time, but this was many years ago before the war really began to have a strong impact on your home country. I remember with great clarity of being in Liberia, being with soldiers that were in the streets. For those of us here in America, that's only something you see on television. This was a very real and different moment for me being on the mother soil and to be in the country of Liberia and to see the beauty of the country, but also being acutely aware of the division at that time within the country. It is an experience I have always cherished, and it has always given me a unique perspective that we are not limited to just the space in which we live, but we are intimately connected to our God and intimately connected to different parts of the world. And for me, intimately connected to the country of Liberia. When you and I met in 2007, when you had mentioned Liberia, you probably recall that my posture shifted. It shifted in a way because there was a space of familiarity. I can say I have been there. I have touched that soil. I have walked on those grounds. I remember the statue of the unknown soldier that was there. So those are things that were deposited in my memory in a way that praise God will never be erased. So when we talk about Liberia today and talk about many of the things that you have shared on your life's journey and being on this side of of that devastation, and you talked about growth and rebuilding and moral responsibility. It is a blessing to be connected whenever God calls us into work. It is blessed. It is a blessing to be connected in that work, all for the glory of God. And these are critically unusual times, regardless to where you are. So, what does that mean for the voices of Christ to lift up a voice for Christ in the midst of these moments, so that we can help to shape not just the present, but also help to shape the what will be. What does it look like to trust God in these moments? What does it look like to have the voice of the prophet and to be able to say, just like Elisha said to Nathan and said to the king, send him to me, and I will show him that there is a prophet in the land. Well, God is looking for prophets in the land today, prophets in the land, certainly in Liberia, but wherever God plants you, we need to have this opportunity uh, to engage as prophets in the land. So Liberia is always going to be dear to my heart. And I do ask and pray that God gives me an opportunity to return to the soil, to return to the country on this side, to be able to not just see it, but also to participate in what God has already determined the what will be.
Well, on that note, we want to wrap up this conversation with the executive director of the Casperson School of Graduate Studies and the executive director of the Theological School at Drew University, based in Madison, New Jersey. Drew is coming to Liberia. Drew is in Liberia. Drew is changing lives and transforming lives in Liberia, improving and empowering moral leaders. That's the intent for the Drew Liberia Cohort. And as we march on to build a permanent campus, I'm hoping to have Dr. Miller with us the next time when we continue this conversation about what Drew is doing and what can be done. For many of you who I have encountered, many of you who have sent me messages, emails, many of you who have interest in the theological exploration, many of you who are interested in the pedagogy of the oppressed and how we can be strengthened, how we can be renewed, how we can be empowered, how we can collaboratively work together. Drew and us, Drew and Refuge Ministries, Drew has had a tremendous impact on my life. And I'm suddenly sure the lives of many who've gone through the corridors and through the doors of that great university in Madison, New Jersey. Dr. Miller, let me thank you for being with us today. And we are hoping that we can have you yet again. You have a very tight schedule. We appreciate the time and we are humble that you accepted our invitation.
I thank you. I thank you for the work that you're doing with Refuge. I thank you for the invitation. I am certainly at your disposal. And we welcome anyone who is considering theological education to be a part of what we do here in Madison, New Jersey. And for those who don't know, Madison, New Jersey is less than an hour from New York City, just to give you a sense of where we are located. But I want to thank you. Your commitment to ministry and to the wellness and to the uplifting of people who are seeking Christ and seeking to do God's work is a blessing to all of us. So thank you for all that you do. And again, for the invitation to be with you.
And on that note, the voice of Reverend Dr. Kevin D. Miller, we will come to the close of another interesting conversation about the Drew Liberia Cohort. We'll be back again another time, but want to thank you so much for listening and that we will be in touch and we'll continue to encourage you to participate, to get involved instead of spending thousands of dollars to come to the United States. You have Drew right there in Liberia, and you can be a part of the conversation. God bless you, and we will be in touch again. But it's good. It's good that Dr. Miller was with us today, and we are grateful for that. Until then, until next time, so long. Take care, brothers and sisters. Blessings. Godspeed.